Welcome to Hashknife Hangouts. I'm Calen Carpenter. With me is my partner, co-host, and father, Brandon. Before we get started, for those of you on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Facebook, like, comment, share. And find us on Instagram at hashknife.ranch.mt, all lowercase. And you'll see our beautiful brand right there emblazoned everywhere. We really don't have any opening notes because this is a continuation of last week's episode, which was the first season of Yellowstone, the series, with starring Kevin Costner and there's a couple other stars in there that I just don't remember their names. But anyway, moving on, we're going to go over this episode of seasons 2 and 3, which I've still got my notebook here. And then we'll kind of finish with our overall ratings. And I'll start with, hold on, Zoom. I'll start with this real quick. Our overall rating to begin with was 4 out of 5 stars for the overall rating of the show. The story rating was 4.5 out of 5 stars. The realism rating was actually more like 2.5 out of 5 stars, mainly because of 2 subcategories. The cowboy / egg aspect was a 1 out of 5 stars, and the property / lifestyle and how we treat the land, 4 out of 5 stars. So with that, we'll go over probably some notes that I've drafted our official review. So we will post that on Facebook once we are done, and we'll let everybody know. But we'll go over some of those notes on that review. And then other than that, I think we'll get started with season 2. What'd you think of season 2, Dad?
They kind of started going down a road, and we talked a little bit about this last time with missing, murdered Indigenous people movement.
Yeah.
And they really started getting into some social engineering going on there with, talking about when the teacher started teaching in college, talking about Columbus's arrival and everything's systemically racist. And you know what? Hey, that started, with others too. It wasn't just Columbus. I mean, it was every invading bunch that come through. Cortez was horrendous, but that was the culture. That was the European culture.
It was a conquering culture. Yeah, for sure. Because you look at historically, what were they doing at that time? They were conquering Africa. The Portuguese and the Spanish and the French they were fighting amongst the three of them primarily, and the Italians a little bit, but those three over Africa. And Africa to this day, it's still very much in the colonial aspect of the 1400s. It hasn't really changed much other than technology, believe it or not.
Right.
So it's the same thing. I agree with you. Yes, there are some atrocities there, and I will never discount that. And I think, culturally, yes, but it didn't just start with us as the cowboy. It was,
again, like we talked about
like that.
Well, we talked about that last time with Sacagawea. They were subjugating each other's tribes. I mean, so that is nothing new. Slavery has existed all continents, all peoples, since the first time somebody could say, no, you're going to do that for me.
Yep.
And they defined power, I think, in that as slavery and subjugation. But
now, and I should say on the flip side too, because kind of going back to, we talked about one of the characters, Casey, I don't know if he's the oldest son. I think he is. Oldest son of John Dutton. The long-haired dude that ends up.
I thought it was Lee was the oldest one.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the one that died right away.
Like season 1. Yeah.
Yeah, but here's kind of my point. We talked about Casey being a vet and former Navy SEAL. That's kind of how the story goes. But his brother-in-law, who actually kills in season 1, was also a vet. And so kind of going down this line of what you're talking about, the atrocities against each other, outsiders on Native Americans, there's also a lot of pride there too. And I was talking to somebody, I think it was yesterday, that, there's a pride there for service. And part of that's also cultural as well, because I told them, you look at any ethnicity in the United States, one of the highest serving ethnicities is Native Americans. And
per capita is probably the highest.
I would bet it is. I'm not going to say it is.
I don't know that, but I would about bet.
I would too. Now, here's part of the reason. I've seen a lot of Crow, because this is who I've grown up around. The Crow tribe and the Lakota tribe, they have lost a lot of sons to war, and they've done so proudly, and especially through, believe it or not, the Marine Corps. I don't know what it is, but they love the Marine Corps. And the Native American tribes are very culturally and personally tied to the military. And I think they probably always will be.
I think that's a perception that the Marines have had. They're called leathernecks, right?
Yeah.
And the reason is they had really leather gauntlet around their neck to prevent sword wounds early on in the late
Colonial.
late 1800s. Even Teddy Roosevelt's bunch, that was more indicative of them, of that branch, or that was a trademark. But it also has a connotation, I think, of hand-to-hand combat. Well, what is one of the ways that you become a chief or a war chief is counting coup in battle. And so that's got to be close hand-to-hand type combat. And I think that the Marines have really fostered that. You don't hear of Air Force guys in a lot of hand-to-hand combat unless they're, PJs or controllers or something like that. But, they're more technology based, where the Marines they're grunts. I mean, that's what they do. So I think that's why there's that draw there. Because it's partially the cultural means by which they can gain status through the warfare.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that was kind of a quick recap and some social stuff about season 1. Moving to season 2, episode 1, The Thundering is what it's called. Or sorry, A Thundering. It said rainwater is like a Native American prairie reserve. They're talking about rainwater. It was like some sort of reserve, right, that they're trying to do. And I thought American Prairie Reserve, which you and I have discussed multiple times on how we've disagreed with how they go about doing things. Push bulls. Oh, this was another thing. They were going and grabbing bulls that were out in the summer or out during the fall or something. And they went into the wood line to push them and pull them back out so that they could gather them up. And I said, push bulls way too hard, dangerous with a star. And like the way they went in there, they went barreling in with horses and they were roping them. And I was like, man, don't do that.
This is the Waha rodeo team roping mentality.
And that's why we rated a 1 out of 5.
Right. You don't do that in reality. If you got something that's hard to get out, you start easy.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you escalate a bull, they just lock up and want to fight, and you're not going to move them. So
and it can hurt your horse and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's the one place where dogs do come in handy as an aggressive dog to move a bull out of there. You can usually move a bull with a dog, but but you know what? Slow and quiet is not glamorous.
No, it's not.
How many times have you heard me say that, if you're training a horse right, it's like watching paint dry.
Right. It's uneventful, thank God, because when you get to be the guy on the back end of that, like, oh, this is good. I'm not in any sort of rush. I'm not in any sort of danger. I feel very safe. I feel calm. But then guys want to get on there, and typically rodeoers, they want to get in and they want to have fun. Yeah, I'm like, no, it's not what it's meant for. A quote on there was, a measure of progress in town is decent coffee. Okay, California. Let me tell you something here. Some of the best coffee I've ever had has been straight black in a stained white porcelain mug in
over a campfire.
Yeah, or in a little greasy barn grill at 8:00 in the morning. That's completely subjective to how you think it is. I'm gonna tell you, you're wrong. But yeah, whatever. Hey, I get why you're saying it, because you think a Starbucks should probably be there, but Starbucks doesn't belong in Montana, not with its politics.
Well, and it's all about, convenience and measuring again status by, I buy more expensive coffee because I can afford it. I mean, that's all they're
now,
saying there.
Don't get me wrong, I buy expensive coffee, but I buy it by the bulk at about $45 probably every 2 pounds, but it lasts me a while and I get to grind it because my parents got me a grinder, and it's really good coffee.
So it's like $22.50 a pound, math guy.
Yeah, sure. But the thing is, like, that's 2 coffees at Starbucks.
Well, yeah, probably. I don't know what Starbucks charges.
You add all the floof.
I'm not going.
You add all the floof, the tip, and all that stuff. It's probably going to be like $20. So might as well buy expensive stuff.
I suppose for a couple of people, you're probably $8-10 a cup in some area. I guess it depends on where you're at regionally too.
Depends on size, depends on what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Here's something that really upset me. You guys nailed it. Yellowstone producers, writers, executive, whatever. You guys did a great job showing the roads in Bozeman, the downtown Bozeman. You showed the signs with the bobcats. You nailed it. And then you turn around in season 2, and the teacher is supposed to be at MSU. That was not MSU. As a guy who was there for 4.5 years, that was not Montana State University. Now, I would guess it was probably University of Montana, UM. You went to UM, was it?
It looked to me like it was UM.
That's what I freaking thought. Wrong end of the state, pal.
wrong color jerseys.
Oh god, yeah. Try and wear a Cats jersey in Missoula or a Missoula jersey in Bozeman. Like, it's not gonna happen. Just stop.
No, not without some at minimum some verbal exchange, shall we say.
And honestly, I'm not gonna say one campus is more beautiful than the other. I think they're both very beautiful in their own right. If you're gonna put her in UM, put her in UM. Don't say it's Montana State and then take her over there. Like, just do it right. Like, there's nobody was gonna hurt you for that or dink you on it. But now that you've flipped the two colleges, well, yeah. But now that they've said she's going to Montana State, and then they put them in a whole nother location. That's different. Now, if you would have said, "Hey, you're going to U of M, we're going to put you in U of M." Okay, cool. You use the right campus and everything. That's awesome. I love it.
No. Well, and again, this is nothing more than a business decision on the cost of filming something and proximity. So they're going to say, nobody cares, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's outside of the storyline here, but still, you want some realism to some of the stuff that's going on. And I think that's what we're pointing out.
Yeah, but stuff like that also makes me wonder, and this is more of an inside knowledge thing for anybody who's local to Montana. There's been recent years, there was a lot of sexual issues, like not only sexual harassment, but actual sexual assaults and stuff like that at UM. And they were fighting hard to curb against it. Well, they lost a lot of enrollment because of it. And a lot of that enrollment, I would argue, went to Montana State. Now, I wonder, is this a way for them to try and get enrollment back to U of M? Is by trying to show off their campus? I don't know.
Well, I doubt it, because they pass it off as like MSU. So I kind of doubt it. I don't think they really care. At the same time, they were desperate to, at that time, and this is more the politics of the past of the schools, they were desperate to hang somebody. And so they took a guy who was on a football team and they crucified him. It turned out he was innocent.
Yeah.
And destroyed his reputation. So, which is a whole nother story. We can get into something about that.
Anyway.
But, yeah.
There
was
attorney...
a quote in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
That I took, and it said, "University is intro to your own little world."
Oh,
that was a quote. And
I think I know
what
you're talking about.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, that was headed towards, if you think right, then you can have the whole world open to you. But if you don't think right, then this university is not going to help you at all. So I was like, that is not the way education and higher education should be. It should be, you know what? You should look at stuff you don't agree with. You should have to argue for things in debate that you don't agree with. I mean, your mother is really good at that. She was phenomenal debater.
I changed a political opinion because that one time. Term limits. Yeah, I was wholeheartedly against term limits, and I had to argue both sides. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm for term limits now.
That's what happens. It maybe expands, opens your mind. And that's my whole point. Is like going to school isn't just to go and get a resume, and it is. And for I think a lot of people, or you have to think correctly in order to pass the class. We've all been there. Even when I was going to school, if you didn't puke back what the professor was saying, then hey, you're not going to pass.
As a guy who had to wear his uniform once a day, every week, I definitely had to play that game because they don't like you.
Right. Well, you're going to a liberal arts school now, which I would say is a liberal arts. It used to be an ag school, but it's, I think, clearly changed.
Yeah, it's engineering.
Right from the president right on down. Yeah.
The thing that and this is a whole nother conversation we could have on a whole nother day. The Montana State, and I'm looking directly at you, President Cruzado. the thing that built your university 100+ years ago, and starting in 1897, you are systematically destroying.
Mhm.
And that's been the groundscape from day one, and you are slowly killing it.
That's
The
you're not
attorney
wrong.
general candidate explaining Eastern Montana is less populated. I just wrote that. That was it. If I remember correctly, my thought with that was more like, yeah, absolutely. She was kind of saying they're trying to get her to cater towards like one type of person or something. She's like, listen, you don't understand Montana. And this is exactly where I was going with this. Yes, people think Montana is beautiful. And I've had a lot of people that I've met out in the army. They're like, oh, Montana is beautiful. I was like, really? Where were you? Oh, I was like Missoula, Bozeman area. I was like, yep, you're on the left side of the state. You're not on the right side of the state. And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, you completely missed one half of the state. It's two regions entirely. And people don't get that. Yeah.
Work-wise, politically, landscape, lifestyle, it's
Mhm.
all completely different. Completely different.
Football teams. East
Oh,
side
yeah.
of the east side of the mountains are pretty much Bobcats. West side of the mountains is pretty much Grizzlies. Ugh.
Maybe it's whiskey to wash that nasty taste out of your mouth, that word.
Yeah. Here's a quote. Don't. Oh, this is what we talked about last episode. Don't. This was where Beth's boss she was trying to short-sightedly save the ranch by picking up land and stuff like that. But understanding the repercussions for it later on down the road. Her boss says, "Don't haggle on price. Just start gobbling," meaning buy land, buy land, buy land. But what are the repercussions? Price taxes go up. This is why farmers and ranchers fold, because everything around them gets jacked up when it's not the value of the land, and suddenly it increases their taxes to the point where they can no longer support their living system. And a guy ends up killing himself later on because he has to what is it? He's unable to make the bank payment,
Right.
stuff like that.
Raising horses. I mean, and raising horses is not an easy way to make a living. Believe me.
I would say it's way harder than raising cows.
It is because your market is much smaller. I mean, it's much more labor intensive. It's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
I mean, we do both, and so yeah, it's much tougher that way.
I also guarantee he's not selling horses for $5,000 to $7,000 a piece. He's probably doing the typical horse trader thing and selling them for $500 a piece.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because that's more in disc or season 3, but I wrote that down. Yeah, you got 16,000 for 300 head. That's pretty damn poor return.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's do some quick. You said 300 head?
Yeah, that's what they said. They said 16,000 he got for 300 head. So
that's only
just a little hair over $500 a piece, right?
No, it's 53.
Or 50. Yeah, 50. Yeah, there you go. Missed a zero.
$53.33 a horse. Talk
Negative.
about dirt cheap.
Well, you can't even.
That's realistic prices for land. If you're doing trading and stuff like that. Hey, untrained horses, sell them loose. Here you go.
Yeah, at worst case scenario. But even what's it cost to feed a horse for a year? You're looking around $500.
Yeah.
If you're having to supplement in the wintertime, which you should be. But anyway, yeah, we're jumping around there. I got to tell you, the fencing is freaking pathetic. Did you notice that? I mean,
it's so sad. I don't think I even commented on it. It's that sad.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, clearly nothing. This was not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. But cowboy poker was real.
That's real. That's a thing. So's the God, with the rope in each jousting.
Cowboy jousting. Yeah.
Yeah. We've both done that.
Now, the other thing too, I put in here, Jenkins is the epitome of the California land grabber, big or small. And it goes back to my original quote. It just jack up the price. I don't care about those around me. What I am trying to do is I'm trying to preserve the land the way it should be preserved, because people want to come here and see it for what it is. In the meantime, they do that and they ruin it because they create cities, they create these airports. I agree with what they're saying, but everything is misguided in the way in which they go about actually obtaining that.
Well, and it's what you value. They don't value, raising some cattle on that.
Or driving 3 hours somewhere, because it's just the way it is.
Right. Well, because and their thing is the return is not what it should be. You should be able to make more money on this. I mean, that's
Right.
all of what it is.
Yeah, welcome to the club, bro.
Well, I thought the irony to that whole thing with her buying the land, grabbing out from under him, early on, and buying all this property, like you said, the irony of that is raises the taxes, and supposedly they're not going to last more than a couple more years because they
Right.
can't pay the taxes.
Right. And that's
It's
why I
just
keep
making
saying it was
worse.
just all short-sighted.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, those were realistic, but how does it happen? And I think that's what we're trying to do is point out. Look, in Montana, this is what goes on. You come out here and you pay way more than something's worth. Jacks the prices up. Now you're not even going to be able to pay the taxes yourself, let alone what you've done to everybody else around
Right.
you.
Right.
So, but I think we tend to not think about anybody else but ourselves in our culture. Unfortunately, unless you're service oriented like that, military, law enforcement, EMS, firefighting, those are all, medical, those are all service type, and education as well. But education, I think there's a larger message sometimes in there.
Yeah. All right. We just got through the first
testing.
episode of the second season. Wow, we're going a lot slower than I thought we would.
Yeah. How about the second disc on that season 2, where they're killing the cows with clover?
Yeah. Talk to me about that, because I was like, unfortunately, I don't know cows quite that well. But I'm pretty sure clover's pretty good to eat for them.
Well, you can have some toxicity to it, especially if it's growing. However, they're dumping hay out of an airplane, or 2 airplanes. Okay, so you break this down, and he said there was just under 400 head. So 2 planes that are Cessna Caravans, and I've flown one of a Cessna Caravan, big old giant FedEx type airplane, slow moving for its size, but can really carry a lot. Fact is, when I looked it up on some of the data, and it has a max payload of 3,165 pounds. So if you take 2 of those,
not much hay.
3.165 ton. If you want to get, beyond really where we're at with significant figures, or for about 400 head, 15.8 pounds each of hay. The likelihood that clover is going to hurt those cows with that much is almost non-existent, but it makes a good story.
It does. Yeah. And that, again, good story.
Yeah.
Accuracy for real life. Right. Absolutely no. Yeah. I'm going to back up a little bit, because I was kind of listening to, while I was listening to you, I was running through some of the notes that probably are more important. Something he said, I'll just run through them, then we can discuss after that. But it says he doesn't know who owns the field. 10 years ago, he did. I thought that was interesting. That's accurate. Cowboy hats are far more prevalent in the show than they are in real life. More and more people wear ball caps like I do, believe it or not.
It's stupid.
Sorry.
You can't keep your freaking hat on in the wind is not my problem. Rookies.
Even when you have dinner, you're working. Like they were talking over the dinner table. Yeah, to an extent. The other one,
you're all in the same place at once. That's kind of a rarity sometimes too.
That too. This is a good one. Rip and Beth are talking. They've got this ongoing love story throughout the whole series. But at one point it says what people see as regressive is actually perfect. I think I agree with that.
Say that again. I'm not.
What people see as regressive is actually perfect. A lot of people see the lifestyle as you're going back, you're not going with the times and stuff like that. It's like, it's actually pretty perfect. If you look at it and you enjoy it, it slows things down. You get to enjoy life a whole lot more.
Well, and I think that's all, again, a personal bias or personal viewpoint of what is progressive and what is regressive.
Yeah.
If you don't move at all, it's not going backwards. It's just staying the same. So, and that's why I kind of wanted to dissect that a little bit. I mean, there's things here that we have to do that I loathe, and I'm like, how come, I would like to go back to the way it was 170 years ago.
So much easier, but it's also harder.
Oh, exactly. Your lifespan's going to be about 40. I mean, 45 maybe,
As I say, realistically, you could probably make it to 60. You'd be an old man at 60, but
some did. Yeah, there were some old guys, in the 1830s, mid 1800s, and even 130 years, 140 years ago, I'd be like, oh my God, what a life, So anyway, that
oh, another thing before the plane thing happened, all I put was fucking bolo ties. Like the brothers, they're talking about the two brothers, and they always got their damn bolo ties on. And if anybody didn't see the first episode, yes, there will be strong language with this because I feel that passionately about it. Nobody wears a damn bolo tie unless you're not from Montana or Wyoming or the Dakotas. Nobody wears a damn bolo tie except our governor of 8 years for 2 terms, and he was just such a dink. Oh God, I hate bolo ties. If you can't tell,
when I was a kid,
give me a real tie. I'll wear a real tie with Western shirts and a nice, suit. You don't need a bolo tie. It's honky. It's not right. It's gross. It's not correct.
Hey, when I was a kid, a lot of people wore bolo ties.
Oh.
That's what you had.
No.
And you started seeing more because if you wore a regular tie like of today, that was kind of like you were a churchgoer on Sunday. That's where you were headed, or you were a Slick City guy. And now, and I've got a couple of bolo ties I've had for years and years and years, but I don't wear them because it's just you do change. I mean, we're not wearing wigs like they were during the founding fathers' times, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, things do change.
Now, I'll tell you this: I've seen you wear a tie, and again, I've seen you wear a tie with a Western shirt and a nice vest and a nice suit on top of it. So it's like a cowboy 3-piece suit in a sense, and you look very good in it. Very proper, very nice. Yeah, but you don't need the bolo tie would completely ruin that whole look. It would make you look just so cheesy, and I'm like, no.
We got to finish the ensemble with the brightest or newest blue Wranglers that I've got.
Well, yeah, that's okay.
And I have wore all that with not so new Wranglers, a little on the faded, no, not faded, but
it's in the newer category.
And I've mostly brushed the cow and bull and horse shit off my boots.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, as long as you can't see it from the top, you're good. They don't have to see the bottoms.
Right. Well, that's funny. Your mom and I were in a store one time, just grabbing some stuff, and this guy looks at me, and you just kind of made eye contact, and he looked me up and down like that, and he goes,
And
he looked at his wife, and he goes, "He's real. Look at his boots."
Yep. Look at the boots.
That was funny. Oh my God. Anyhow.
I can't read my handwriting. One of them, the Indian relay, those are cool. Those are things too.
Yeah.
Much like Indian jousting cowboy jousting and cowboy poker. Indian relay is a cool thing. If you ever get to see one, it's a very, very neat thing. And the way they explained it, if that's accurate, I think it is based off of, it's like as a warrior was coming off the battlefield and he's switching horses. If that's accurate, which I hope it is, very cool, and it makes complete sense as to why that tradition started.
Yeah, they do that here all the time. During the summertime, there's fair time and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Go ahead.
God, they drink a ton of whiskey. It's
all. I love it.
Yeah, well, you're not working either, but them and the miniseries, the Netflix miniseries, The Ranch. It's like, good God, all they do is drink whiskey. You don't get a lot of work done, it seems like, you know?
Yeah.
And beer, yeah. So
another episode. Who is to decide you have too much land? Again, social engineering to that point. And this is setting up that basis for the justification as to why they need to take over the Yellowstone Ranch for the airport or the resort or whatever they're trying to do. They're trying to say he has too much land, much like he has too much money or something like that. No, that's not yours to determine.
Well, and if you don't have it, of course you have too much.
Right. Exactly. But I just want to throw that out there because, we are very, very small ranch, very modest. People out here tell them, talk to them about it. And they're like, oh, how much land do you have? And we're like, about, 700, 800 acres, somewhere in there,
Needed. Yeah. But the thing of it is, when people ask me that, I go, you know what? And I'm getting worse about it. I say, you know what? That's kind of a let me help you out here. If somebody asks you that in our country,
Yeah,
that
it's
is one of
very
the
rude.
rudest thing you can ask somebody.
Yeah.
It's almost like how much money do you have in the bank and how often you bed in your wife.
Yeah.
None of my business.
Well, it's to the extent that you also don't ask how many head of whatever you got.
Right.
So I asked a friend when I was home on leave, just because I was curious at how they're running their place. I was like, hey, I felt a little uncomfortable about this, but I was very curious. Because I was trying to learn from them. I was like, hey, how do you guys saturate your bowls? Like, at what number do you top them off at? For us,
Run kind of bull ratio.
yeah, and I was like, hey, for us, we try and stick around 20 cows to a bull. And I felt a little uncomfortable asking that, but he was okay with it. And I was like, because what you can do is, in a weird way, you find out what their ratio is, and then you ask how many bulls they got, and then you can figure out how many they have. You know,
but you're doing it for a different reason. But people who don't know, they're like, how many cows do you have?
Yeah.
And what I normally say is, too many to feed and not enough at sale time.
Yep. Too true.
So
might start using that.
Yeah. The trailer ride. Those guys, when that livestock agent was going to teach them a lesson. I mean, there is some shenanigans going on there. I mean, this is a dark movie or dark show. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nobody who is,
innocent.
lily white, innocent, except that little kid, the little guy.
Yeah. Well, they also show that how messed up he gets by getting,
right.
He's got some straight PTS after that because of the kidnapping. But I mean, it shows like, every little thing that is innocent does get tainted at some point.
Yes. But, I thought it was kind of funny. It's like, yeah, these guys are being bounced around in this trailer. How about don't stand up?
Yeah. Idiots.
You want to stay alive? Lay down, stay laid down. You're not going anywhere. I mean, so again, if you don't understand that, if you've never done that, you're going to think, oh my God. Well, yeah, the guy shouldn't have done that. However, he could have been a good lesson if he'd have knocked them down once and then they just stayed down.
Yeah.
There's a metaphor for that too.
And there's things in there too. Like if you really pay attention to how he's driving, he should have lost it a couple times. The only reason he didn't is because they got a stunt man driving it. He would have never been able to do that because he was whipping so hard that he should have rolled that thing a couple of times.
I don't know. I did that last winter trying to miss a deer with a load of cows in the back. That was your brother and mother were with me, and we're all like, oh, whoa, that was close.
Good thing we got seatbelts on.
Oh man. Quote: Brandon cattle on her goddamn birthday. Yeah. Holidays are few. I mean,
yeah, I see where you're going with this. One, yes, every day's a working day, including Sundays, God's day. Second thing, that'd be an awesome birthday for me. I love branding. That's, again, Super Bowl for me is branding. So I would be more than happy to do that on my birthday. But
here's the thing. I've branded on my birthday. Nobody knew it.
Yeah, probably.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell somebody, hey, that's my birthday today. Okay, let's go brand, because then they'll feel bad about it.
Well, it's also the same thing with the military. Like, you don't just go around being like, it's my birthday. I was in Kuwait. I was in Kuwait for my 26th and nobody knew. The only thing I did was I snapped my breakfast because I treated myself to a bunch of chocolate stuff for breakfast. It's like, hey, turning 26 in Kuwait. Here we go.
I remember you sent that to us. We saw that. It was like, well, happy birthday.
Yeah. But you're not going to tell people because then it just gets weird.
It does. It's like, what's the point? But holidays are the same way. I mean, there's not a holiday. What happens on Christmas Day? You wake up early and go open gifts? No.
No,
you get up.
Check the animals, make sure they got water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe put a horse down. Maybe go find a dead horse.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's happened. I mean, yes, exactly.
Separate occasions, but yeah.
Yeah. None of our fault.
Nope.
So thank you, wolves, and thank you, incompetent county blade.
But that's also the point too of, it's work day. It's also just because it's your birthday doesn't mean it's gonna be a good day. Something bad might happen.
True. That's true. That's true. Sweetgrass County Fairgrounds and the Sweetgrass County Jail. Not there. I don't know where they were at. I've been in
the jail. I was like, that's really nice for Sweetgrass County Jail, but I'll buy it. The fairgrounds, I was like, there's no way the fairgrounds. That's not
negative on both of those.
They're probably in Park City or not Park City, in Livingston or something like that, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know where that was at.
I say
honestly, no idea.
The detention center you could probably say was Bozeman. It could have been.
It might be.
The fairgrounds, the way it looked, I could have passed that for Livingston.
Yeah, there's some trees around there that I'm not familiar with that are maybe there now. It's been a long time since I've been there, but yeah, definitely not Sweetgrass. Let's put it that way. It's not
also
Big
keep
Timber,
in
Montana.
mind, no, but keep in mind also they are filming at the ranch house in Darby, Montana, so they might be somewhere over there.
Could be Hamilton.
Again, there was no wind.
Right, no wind. Exactly. That's a rare day in Big Timber, Montana. It's like Livingston. Yeah.
Almost as bad as Livingston. Not quite.
Another quote: "Ranching's a terrible business." And the ask was, if ranching's so hard, why do it? Why do we do it? And like, because it's one hell of a life.
Yep. I think I wrote that somewhere in here. I don't see it. Yeah. I don't know where. I had it in there though too.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, and we've talked about that before. This is hard, and it's not an easy life. And I've said before, with your mother, that fate should have made her a gentleman's wife, because I'm no gentleman, and this life ain't easy. She was out heroin yesterday. Well, we're getting a bunch of
harrowing, not on heroin. It sounded like heroin for a second. I was like, what are you doing?
No, harrowing, dragging a harrow behind a tractor.
Yes, thank you. The act of dragging.
Right. Here's something that was getting me also, is the eminent domain for $6 billion. That's an abuse of eminent domain. Eminent domain is
it's supposed to be for like, hey, the road's going through, we're going to cut off this piece of your corner or something like that.
Yes, an interstate is eminent domain for everybody, and a high amount of use, not for some rich people to come in and make some money off. And that's where I was really pissed with Donald Trump in his first presidential run, where I was not sure how he'd be about the Fourth Amendment rights, because he absolutely raped a landowner in Florida, and they lobbied and got the Florida Supreme Court to agree that, eminent domain is fine because it's going to increase the tax base because of the business I'm going to put in there. No. Well, that is wrong.
That goes to another point I saw in episode 9 of the second season. It said giving people the opportunity to see the land through housing will ruin it. So it took me a second to remember what I was thinking here, but I finally got there, because underneath it said city people don't get it. So what was happening is, like, this Jenkins fella and those two brothers, and then eventually the business corporation, the Rourke guy that was kind of heading it. Everybody except for those who are living or part of the Yellowstone Ranch are looking at this land as development and subdivision asset. That's how they're looking at it. What the people of the Yellowstone Ranch are looking at it as is it's an agricultural use, plus also preserving the land the way it is. They don't want to change it. They're just using it while it's still here. Essentially a steward of the land, much like people have said about pipes. This is where I'm probably gonna make a story about this one day. The way you take care of pipes, there's a saying that you're not an owner of a pipe. I'm talking about a tobacco pipe. You're not an owner of a pipe. You're a steward of that pipe, because it can go passed on to the next person, as long as it's taken care of properly. The exact same thing with the land. As long as you take care of it properly. Now, they're using it just like you would a pipe. You still smoke that pipe. You still enjoy it. They're still using the land to feed the animals. You're still enjoying the lifestyle that they get from it. Yes, not harming it. And if they do, it's not intentional. And what I guarantee they would do is, if they did harm it, they would do everything they could to fix it as soon as they could.
Right. That's
what they're doing, versus everybody else from the outside who is the bad guy or supposed to be in the show. Really, there's no real good guy in this show. They're making it, they're actually doing a pretty good job of depicting. They're trying to take care of the land from the Dutton side, everybody else is trying to just rape and pillage the land, essentially. And that's not that's that.
They're making it a spreadsheet.
Yeah, and that's if that's one thing that you could get away from this show, I would say take that away, because that is exactly how we feel, and that's throughout all 3 seasons. Don't just think of it as a thing that you can use and toss away. Use
Again,
it as, look at it as something that you can live with.
Right. Well, hey, I'm not, I don't have grandchildren, but I'm thinking of them and their
Yeah.
children.
The next
what I do.
generation and the generation after that.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
You know, and I think about that often. I say, okay, I'm doing this. I hope this lasts through X amount of generations. You know,
Right.
the future, I hope they don't have to do this. I'm busting my ass to make things better for them. Those little bastards better appreciate this.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I cringed when Beth was walking out to meet Rip, and she climbs over or up onto and over the floating end of a gate. Yeah, I see. How many times have you had your ass chewed over that?
A lot. And then
You
here's
know?
the thing. I didn't even get my ass chewed because I was seen. I got my ass chewed because the gate and suddenly was cracking a post and it wasn't working as well as it should have. Calen, why is the gate like this? Oh boy. Yeah. I'm gonna last episode that I saw, they went in to save the kid from the white supremacists. Yes, there are white supremacists. No, they are not always militia tied. There are militias in Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, but believe it or not, those militias are actually more of what you would think a true traditional militia is. They're there to train, prepare in case something happens to defend their people. Nothing more than that, nothing less. But
don't
then
read into it what's not there.
right, exactly. And then there was a thing about, I put old cowboys getting soft in the end. And then they're kind of talking about John Dutton and how, the kid shows his soft side a lot more because he's supposed to be the hard guy that everybody's just difficult to deal with. And then the war paint part on the horse as he was about to run in, dramatic, a little ridiculous, but it also, the way he put it, it was kind of cool to look at and like, oh, this is why he does it. It's showing that traditional mark of the Native American spirit,
Right.
and I thought it was very cool.
Yeah, I mean, crazy horse, lightning bolts, and hailstones on his horse.
Yep.
I mean,
100%.
it was medicine. I thought that was a neat thing, and I think that is relatively accurate.
The way he explained it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I love that guy. He's scary, but I love that guy because of the things he does. Like he kills that one guy that, Mo's a badass.
And you know him, guys who are verbose usually are full of shit. Those that are quiet, don't say much, and are like that is like, okay, yeah.
He's also one of those guys that, I was talking to a friend about this too. MMA. There's certain people in the UFC that I love watching because they're psychopaths, and they love their whole life is to fight, and so they belong in the ring or in prison. Mo would be one of those people. He belongs either on the reservation taking care of his people or in prison. And he probably should have gone to prison multiple times for the things he's done, but he take care of his people and they take care of him. It's very cool.
Well, and you know what? I think that there's a metaphor for that when, what's her name? Casey's wife.
I don't remember her name. Monica.
The Indian gal. Monica, there you go. When they used her as a decoy on the res.
And that's what I was talking about. Yeah, he was the sniper.
Yep. He's the sniper, and that is exactly him. I mean, that guy is he's shepherding a lot of people, and not afraid to use extreme prejudice in taking care of the threat.
Well, and that's what I liked about it too, because I was like, the whole situation, I was like, this is not good. Why is this happening? And then the dude gets shot, but
I didn't see that coming at first either.
But when I saw how Mo reacted, I was like, oh, this is a dangerous fella. And they're really setting it up for that, because what he does is he pulls the trigger. The dude's clearly dead. Well, everybody else doesn't know what's happening, but he knows he's dead. And he walks directly to Monica and goes, are you okay?
Right.
Like that's how you know he's dangerous, because he's like, done this a million times. I can take care of guys like this all day long. I want to make sure you're okay because I'm here for you. I'm like, oh, yeah. I like.
No, this. I thought that I was, you know what? I was like, yeah, got what he got coming, and good for him. I'm glad he's that competent. You know.
Yep. Mo was the character that I've just always been kind of whatever. And then finally, when that happened, I was like, okay, you can pretty much do anything on the show, and you'll probably be my favorite character.
That that was exactly the same way. I mean, he just jumped up because at first he was like just shady as hell.
Yeah,
But then when I saw where he's at, um, he and Casey really are very similar in their righteousness.
they're just on different sides.
Just
So,
different sides. Exactly.
yeah.
And they could be on the same side pretty damn
And to
easy.
an extent, they are as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's why
Yeah.
the kid, everybody was on the kid side because they're like, hey, he's half white, he's half Native American. We're here to take care of our people, and they put
Right.
everything aside to do that. And I
Right.
think that's partly why they also see each other so I wouldn't say in a lighthearted manner, but they see each other in a very respectful and honorific, I guess, in a
Right.
way.
Yeah.
But
How about your land is a relic, wealth is the only legacy? That slimy piece of crap.
it goes
Oh,
back to how you look at the land. It
exactly.
just goes
I
back
mean,
to that.
it just keeps coming back. They keep harping on that. So
And that's why I say that part, if you get nothing else from watching Yellowstone, but you understand and you can side with the Duttons because of this, then the show has won in my heart. You know, that's what needs to be shown, and I love it. That is what they nailed, and I would say 5 out of 5 stars, absolutely for that, showing that the land is, we are there to be a steward of the land and to live with it and to love it and to pass it on to the following generations.
we take care
Whereas
of
you
it
look at
and
New
it
York
takes care
City
of
and it's
us.
fallen under us. Yeah, yes, we take care of the land takes care of us.
Wrangling horses,
Oh God.
they can be damn dangerous.
The way they
you don't
did
see
it
a-
too, like, how are we gonna do this? Fuck it, we'll figure it out. I was
Well,
like, yep.
yeah, it kind of is, but I mean, we used to bring horses in like that. When I was a kid, I'd get sent out to bring in a bunch of horses so we could run. And you're on a 600-acre pasture,
Yeah.
and there's rim rocks and water and bogs, and you start moving a bunch of horses, and you loosely try to drive them where you can. But I've literally had a rein in each hand trying to hold my horse because all of a sudden my horse
Wants to
decides,
take
you know
off.
what, I'm with
Oh,
him. Yep.
yeah.
So it can be damn dangerous doing that. So
I tell you what, I've done once. I'll say kind of once. There was a mare that was by herself with a colt, and I couldn't get her in. I was trying to bring her with grain and stuff like that. I took a time where we had watched a movie before, and I asked you, I was like, "Is that really how they pull in horses?" Like, "Yep, it really is." I'm like, okay. Well, fast forward about 8 years later, there I am on a mare, and this other mare's got a colt. I'm trying to get this mare in with her colt. I'm like, all right, well, I'll kind of figure out how to do it based off of what Dad talked about. It wasn't easy, but I got it
no,
done. And it's like you said, it's a slippery serpent in a way. You're just kind of all over the place trying to get things in, and when it works, you finally hit it. And the other thing too, horses are fast. So as
yeah.
soon as you're ready, and that the animals get where you need them to go, you get there on your horse as quickly as possible, because that's exactly what I did. I had her at a dead sprint to the gate, and we stopped, and I hung it up. But
With that, you're at the edge of barely in control to
yeah,
dangerously out of control.
yeah,
I mean, you're in that, and you gotta remember those horses are running loose and free on their own. Your horse has got a couple 100 pounds on its back, and it thinks it's going to move and cover the country. I mean, it can be very dangerous. So,
yeah.
the horse breeder's house, after like kind of the reception of his
Yep.
funeral or whatever, all these people wearing hats in the house.
Yeah, you don't do that. Take your
don't do
boots and
that.
your hat off, man.
Yeah, your boots maybe, but damn sure not your hat. You don't leave your hat on at somebody's
Especially
house.
at a wedding or at a
Yeah,
funeral.
the funeral or anything. So, okay, bunkhouse with booze and women. No.
Bad idea. Booze, I'm okay
Negative.
with the booze. I'm all right with the booze
A lot
to
of
an
places,
extent.
a lot of big
But
places, no booze, no
because
women.
Cowboys fight, that's why.
Look how they disrupt.
Yeah.
So you're looking at women in a bunkhouse is one thing. That's bad. And I was surprised that they even hired that one gal and have her in the same bunkhouse.
Yeah.
I mean,
Keep
that's
going.
kind
I'll
of,
be right back.
I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But the other part of that is the booze. Yeah, you don't do that either. There's a lot of places you do not drink when you go into somebody's place when you're hired on. It doesn't happen. Some places do, but some of those larger outfits, they've learned their lesson long ago. No booze. Now, You combine the booze and the women, that is nothing more than a recipe for absolute disaster. And you get guys fighting with each other. It's territorial. It's, you know, drinking too much or drinking at all. Those are absolutely no-nos. So unrealistic. And maybe there are some places that do that, but every place I ever knew of, you did not violate that, or you were down the road. They'd get rid of you. So that's
Well, and
just
I heard that. The other thing too is I'm surprised gambling. They're actually allowing gambling too, because what's another thing that involves fighting? Gambling. And what do cowboys always do? They spend their freaking money. So it's like,
well, yeah, and that and the gambling part like that, playing cards. I've never known a place that said you couldn't do that. You know, cards, that's up to them. However, guys, cowboys spending their money. There's a whole nother subject. When you talk about
yeah,
what were
or
the,
like
I
minors.
had to write it down. Kerry Kelly spurs, $1,000 spurs. Okay, young cowboys will spend a shit ton of money on tack.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
because
That's
it
what
looks good.
it looks good. That's what you have. I mean, but $1,000 for a set of spurs, I ain't doing it. I didn't even
I
know
mean,
who a Kerry Kelly spur was because I'm not
the,
that easy. That,
the only thing that
I'm not
tells
a
me with
rodeo
that is
guy
it's
trying
probably
to pick
got,
up Buckle Bunny.
yeah. The only thing that tells me about the $1,000 spurs is there's probably silver or gold laced in there, but that's it.
Could be, yeah. I mean, is a spur, and there's lots of different styles. Well, you can get those at, you know, $150 is a decent spur.
Yeah,
Two
you
hundred
don't need
bucks, I think.
spurs either.
You know, well, but to do that for the show is like, and I mean show as in, you know, roostering around someplace like that. So, okay, when
Are you still on season
Casey,
2?
or this is season 3.
Oh, okay, hold on a second. For season 2, one thing I did want to point out. Um, John Dutton at one point says, "Don't let him take it from you. Not a goddamn inch." I loved
Yep.
it. And it just
Yep.
keeps going back to the whole land thing, because
Yep.
what he sees and he knows, because I think it gets, I don't know where it comes into at some point.
I think that's where they made that offer.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
it's not that. What I'm getting to is when he takes his old man up to the top of the mountain and he dies.
Right.
That he says, "Don't let him take it from you, son." And that's what he's getting at, is he knows that every little bit that the outside is trying to place on the family to take the ranch is just, it's eroding the rock. And he said, if you erode the rock enough, you're going to lose it and it's going to turn
Right.
into sand. So he's like,
Yep.
don't even give up anything. We either keep it all or we lose it all. And that's, again, it goes back to what my original monologue was in the first episode of our review. You know, this is where farmers and ranchers, they lose out. And this is where I kind of hope the whole series eventually ends, is they either win or they lose everything, because there's no going back. And I think what they should do is they should show them losing everything and literally going into poverty, because there's nothing that they'll have. They'll lose all of it.
Well, and yeah, and like he's said several times, it's from the very first beginning of that, somebody's been trying to take it. The tools change over time.
Yeah. Or the people.
But it's still, people are tools when it comes to that kind of thing. So the way in which they go about it is changes things. So anyway, they found the guys that were stealing cattle, and Casey ropes him through a window around the neck. I mean,
yeah, I saw that too. Like, nah, that wouldn't happen.
enough said.
But hey, but that should show rustling is a thing. It's very real. And and if I remember right, what stemmed that whole thing was the opening scene. They had transportable panels and really good dogs.
Yes.
Now, one, yeah, can you use dogs to do that? 100%. You got some good dogs
without panels. I've seen guys load bulls, a trailer load, a full trailer with nothing but dogs and no corrals, no nothing.
Now, they're probably trying to make it faster. That's why they did it. But
man, to do that into a truck like that, they need the panels, though. They'd have to do it that way, the portable panels.
But I tell you what, that rustling's a real thing. And going back to what you said, the tools just change over time. You know, it used to be random cowboys. They'd go into a herd at night and they'd maybe rope one and then they'd carry it away. Or now it's just throwing it in there.
Or you find slicks and you brand them.
Yeah. But like,
peel them off.
wow, that was a good way of depicting, like, yes, wrestling's still a thing. The
Yep.
tools have just changed. It's just been modernized. And yeah, you can do things with a trailer, panels, and some good freaking dogs. That's all they took.
Absolutely, without question.
The
Uh,
other thing I saw on there was uh businesses, corporations, just kind of go back to land thing, overestimating our resolve. Yeah, they're gonna we will fight to the very end to keep the land and to make sure to preserve our heritage.
right.
The other thing too, it said rodeoing slash cowboying. You can't love two things at once. It's bad on relationships. I think that was came from Lloyd. Um, I'll tell you what, that's a lot of things. Cowboy
It
and
is.
rodeoing. I think that's a good example, but yeah, that's a lot of things. It's a
Well,
good
there's an
metaphor for things.
It is. Yeah, there's an attitude there, and you're right. It doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing. It's your attitude towards it, and whether or not you include somebody or you do something at their exclusion,
Yeah.
as far as a relationship. So,
When it
uh,
said Lloyd's body made him leave rodeo.
oh yeah,
I was like, I'll tell you what, something I learned from you. I think we're at Grandpa and Grandma's 50th anniversary, and they're at a dance, and we saw a bunch of old men walking around. And you made a comment. You said, "Look at all these old men." You looked at me and Braden. You said, "Look at all these old men." I'm like, okay. He goes, "They've all been through stuff." And you looked at them. They're gimping around. They're hot. Some of them are bent half over. It's because they had broken backs, broken
they're in their
hips.
60s. These
What's
guys
that?
are in their 50s, 60s, and some 70s.
Yeah. And they're barely making it around. But he's like, this is, you said that's what you get for the lifestyle we live, essentially. And you just got to be damn careful because a lot of these guys are old rodeoers. Thankfully, Braden and I never did rodeo. I would have loved to probably bull ride, but I also know at 27 I'd be an old man now too. You know, there's a repercussion for the decisions you make at 15 to 18 years old.
Yeah, you're built wrong for it. You're real long backed. I mean, those guys
Yeah.
are short.
Yeah.
You know, wiry, small. Uh, one of the things I liked, what I really liked seeing, is they had some really nice cutting horse work going on.
They did. And I'm not we don't have cutting horses. I've never had to use a cutting horse, but it was very impressive. They did a good job. The slide thing, the slide contest, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, but that's reining. That's not cutting. But they combine a lot of that stuff.
I would say they're both kind of the same. I mean, yes, I understand that a square and a rectangle aren't the same, but they're similar. You know?
Okay, let me put it to you in these terms. Cutting is useful.
Yeah.
Sliding, a running slide, is not useful. What's the purpose? What's the purpose also of spinning that horse? And I've said this before, in a tight, just spinning them and spinning them around. It has no useful purpose.
Other than making you dizzy.
Now, what it does do, what? Sorry?
Other than making you dizzy.
Well, yeah, but no, you get used to that. It sells the sport and impresses to make money. Remember what Rip said? If you want to make money, you be an artisan.
Yeah.
Concerning the reining patterns that they were doing. Now, the one part of the reining is they're running that cow down and then they're turning them, or steer, heifer, whatever they're using for that stock, and they're turning them back and they're working them in a circle. That's semi-useful. It's pretty fast, but it's semi-useful. Cutting is absolutely useful. Sliding stops and the spins, no. But what it is very good discipline of training.
I was gonna say discipline. Discipline's where it's at.
That's it's just shows very, very good training, and I've got no quarrel with that. But to give the impression that that's what you would use out there in a pasture somewhere, you're going to run up to something and spin the shit out of it. No, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But you may need to cut something out, and that is where the difference is. Now, with that said, still really good work, really good accurate depiction. And some very, very nice horses in there. There's some great horse work and some guys that are sitting on their backs doing a great job. Really well done.
Agreed. Now a couple things in there. Girls talking in the truck. Holy crap, is that accurate? Irons aren't just in the back end of the pickup. Come on. Like I like where they're going with it. Like pull out the iron, beat the shit out of the motorcyclist because he's being an asshole. But
you're not packing
listen,
branding irons around like
no,
that.
those things are special to the family. They're special to the ranch. They're in a safe place. It's not like they're hidden in a safe or anything, but they're in a special place for a special time, which is branding time. You don't
Yeah, you
just
use them.
carry them around because you
No,
can.
you don't. Unless you're coming back from or going to your branding spot. I mean, which
Yeah.
is going to be one or a couple of days, depending on how many cattle you have. Maybe for a week. But yeah, you're not running around. It'll look good though.
Also, I did put in there. At one point, Rip goes straight for the 6-pack. I've been there. Multiple reasons, multiple days. Didn't bring, different, whatever.
Everybody's been there. No matter if you're a pencil.
You saw that
pusher in
episode.
the city.
You saw that scene, and he just like, nope, not right now. And he just walks in, and comes back out, and he just drains one, and throws it away, grabs another one, and he starts draining that one. I'm like, yeah, I've been there, buddy. I understand.
Everybody has. It doesn't matter what your job is. Everybody's done that.
Just, I loved it. I thought that was good.
Or had days like that, I should say.
So I don't remember where this note came from, but it's episode 8 of the 3rd season. I said men appreciate when you risk things for them. Yeah. I don't remember where that came from, but yeah, you do something to show somebody, hey, I'm there. I'll risk this to take care of you because you're special to me. You mean a lot to me. That doesn't go unnoticed. It may go unsaid, but it does not go unnoticed.
We're not huggers.
No.
That's exactly. It's a whole different language. It's a different culture. There's some things I would do anything for guys that I care about, but I'm going to tell them I care about them. I mean, this is hard enough just talking about it,
Yeah. We're Vikings. Stock battles, talking about like Wall Street, the business aspect, ranchers just I don't think we understand yet. And I think that's where it shows the danger in the show. The only reason they know a little bit about stocks and where things are kind of going against them is because Beth's there and Beth's understanding. But that's accurate. We're so, you call us regressive, but we're so behind the curve and the times on that it's something that's outside the aspect of ranching for the most part.
Watching that doesn't help a cow grow or calve or manage the ground any better. No, it's not applicable.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. So here's what I got. I got 4 specific points. It says the financial dagger that forces sale. 1, taxes from surrounding properties. We've talked about that. Eminent domain. Yes.
To a lesser degree, but yes.
Yeah, but yes. Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to say it. 15 cents an acre versus 10,000 an acre. Your taxes are going to go up. Obviously those are
sustainable.
Obviously 15 cents an acre, not accurate to how it is today, but that's my point. It's just, the difference there, it'll drive taxes. And then the 4th one.
The point to that also is when that land was 15 cents an acre, guys didn't have the 15 cents. It's all relative. All relative. I remember talking to my grandpa about this. He says, yeah, this sold for, about $30 an acre. And I said, why? What the hell? How come you didn't buy as much as you could? And he goes,
didn't have the money.
Didn't have $30. Nobody did.
Well, that's something.
Didn't have it.
Today, we've talked about it before. You're like, yeah, it was about this back then. We're like, all right. So immediately in my head, I'm like, back then, how much would it have cost? I'm like, it probably would cost this. Like, oh, you didn't have that money.
No.
Because you think about it now. What was Louisiana purchase? 3 cents an acre.
3 cents an acre. Yeah.
What did the United States of America go into? Massive debt. 3 cents an acre.
Right. There you go. Says it all.
And then, so those 3 points, taxes from surrounding properties, which leads to the 3rd one, 15 cents an acre versus $10,000 an acre. Taxes go up. And then the 2nd, eminent domain. Again, it's there, but to a lesser degree. It all equals the forced sale of the land or the property or the ranch or the farm due to not enough capital to continue with it. And it goes back to, we just don't have the money. You can liquidate equipment, you can liquidate animals, you can liquidate land. At some point, it just doesn't meet the requirement.
Well, the more land you liquidate, it's to me, and I've said this before, it's like a volume discount dealer on a car lot. Some of these large car lots are selling these vehicles, like $100 over factory invoice. They advertise that.
Yeah.
How many cars do you have to sell in order to make money at that. You got to sell a ton of them. Same way with having property like that. You have to have a ton of it, run a lot of animals in order to make that pay, because your margins are so small.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can do it. And then you start eroding that. Now you're not going to make any money at it, and you're not going to pay the taxes. I mean, all of those things that come into it. Insurance, we pay insurance.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the insurance we pay. And yeah, could you do without it? Yeah, until something bad happens.
I was gonna say
Some
all
of-
it takes is one client to come and test out riding a horse.
Right.
Something happened to said client, and suddenly, instead of being like, "Hey, you know what? It was my fault. I did something," being a reasonable man or reasonable woman and saying, "Don't worry about it. It's okay." That one person coming from, who knows where, suddenly
Right.
going, "Oh, I'm going to sue you because," well, all right, there you go. You just lost.
Right.
Episode 9 of the 3rd season, fighting evil. You got to be meaner. Yep, sure do. That's all I'm going to say about that. I have a lot of different takes on that, particularly coming from the military.
Well, there's a lot of different types of evil too.
Yeah, there is. But I think there's also a reason why there's a man named Osama bin Laden who's no longer living.
Yep. Look at the havoc you wreaked in the meantime.
Or Hitler or Mussolini. Yeah, we can keep going. Then finally, the last episode I had for the 3rd season and the final season to this point, using a Montana power of attorney to sell underneath. I don't know how you could do that. Yeah, I think it was a general power of attorney, but I don't think you could do that, especially if somebody turns around and says, "Hey, I disagree with this."
Yeah,
that's a
I don't know
stretch.
the legalities of that in that context. I've got a power of attorney for you when you
Right.
went to Afghanistan to be able to do things because you were not here to do them, but that was only with your explicit consent.
Yeah.
Right. You can have a power of attorney to do things for someone who can't do it for themselves, either mentally or, but in that context, I don't know. I wouldn't think that would be necessarily legal, but I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
And that was where the questions started flying in the show too. They're like, "Can he do
Yeah.
that?" Because I don't think he can. But if it's a general power of attorney, maybe. I don't know.
But you got to be able to you got to revoke it.
Yeah, you do. And that's why the first thing I was like, why don't you just cancel it? That's the first thing I'd do. Be like, all right, sign, shred it, whatever. Trying to get the right people in office. They're trying to do Casey for governor.
Right.
Yeah, I get that, but then I'm also a pessimist, and I think power gets to people. I don't know. I think, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the final thing I had, it was a quote from Rip. "I'd rather kill 1,000 men than shoot another horse." I'm like, yep, I agree with that. I haven't had to kill a man yet, but man, I'll tell you what, it's rough killing a horse or a cow.
Horses and dogs, even cows are hard. I remember the first time I had you put something down, it was a steer.
Yeah,
that
was easy though. That was actually pretty easy.
It's not near as bad. I mean, but
the horses have been the hard one for me.
Horses are tough. Dogs are tough. Dogs are even tougher than the horses are, and horses are damn hard. But that you're doing what should be done.
So here's where I would also say, and probably dog owners out there who've had to put down a puppy because they're just old. That's where it gets hard, because there's nothing physically wrong with them. Looking at a horse,
they're failing.
Yeah, looking at a horse and seeing a broken leg, or the one that really got messed up when we were littler, that was tangled up and in the corner and you had to put her down. Seeing the physical trauma and that's just not recoverable, that's easy. It hurts, but that's easier to pull the trigger. When you have an old horse that's just there and living their life to the best they can, but you see that it's not going to continue for much longer, that's where it gets hard, because there's nothing physically really wrong.
Except they're old. And the thing you're trying to avoid is that horse laying down and can't get up. Old horses normally don't lay down. They stay standing up. They sleep standing up. Horses sleep standing up anyway, but the older they are, the less they lay down, because it's hard to get up. And the danger is letting that horse get to the point, even though they can eat, drink, and they're seemingly, happy or content, then they get down and then they can't get up. And what they will do is they will beat their heads into the ground trying to get up. And that's what you don't want to have happen. I mean, for those that don't know that, I mean, that's really where you're at. Old dogs, same way. When they start losing bodily functions, when they start not being able to get up or so hard to get up and then they can't move, I will pick a dog up and I'll get them on their feet and I'll help them. But when they start losing the bodily functions, their organs are shutting down. It's time.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's not anything I ever want to do again. And I know I'm going to have to, but I just don't want to do that.
Yeah. Anyway, I would say we talked about doing kind of an overall view. Let me minimize this for a second.
Let me put it this way.
Go ahead.
As a story, I don't know how many seasons there are out there. We've done 3.
So you've got all the current seasons. There's 3.
3 seasons. Okay.
They're supposed to be at this time. So anybody who sees this in the future, this is we're filming it on the 18th of April, 2021. There's only 3 seasons out. We've got all 3 of them on DVD. I'm gonna steal those DVDs back when I come visit this summer.
I'll
and
send
then
them to you if you want.
No, it's too expensive. I think they're gonna start filming again this summer 2021 for season 4. I don't know what's gonna happen in season 4. There's a lot of speculation, just like any culture type show. But yeah, there's supposed to be a 4th season from what I've read and what I've seen.
Yeah, I would even if we're not gonna do anything more with any kind of reviews, and maybe we will because it'd be something that are groundbreaking. But even if we didn't,
what, we should probably do the ranch because there's a lot of accuracy with the ranch too.
Yeah, there's a lot of inaccuracy too, but
there is. That's like Samuel. So anybody who's seen the ranch, we got a family friend, really for me, an adopted grandmother that has said that Samuel Jackson. Woo!
Sam Elliott.
Sorry out there, wrong color.
The whole crew though. It's Sam Elliott, Deborah
Sam
Winger.
Elliott's you. Braden and I can float between Rooster and the other 2. It just depends on the day and
between you, Colt and Rooster are the sons.
Yeah,
and so sometimes you guys are both each other or float between one.
I would say Braden is far more often Rooster because of the grumpiness, but I'm typically Colt, but I'm not quite that stupid. Now Mom can be the mother on, I don't remember her name, but she's also like, my mom is absolutely
Maggie.
My mom's absolutely perfect. She's not a whore like Maggie is. Like, so there's there's parts, but there's a lot of similarities among the 4 of them that we see within our family. We're like, oh, yep, there's Braden. Oh, that's Dad.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of funny because I think the way she put that is, oh my God, you are Bo Bennett, only you're not as mean.
Yeah.
Or not mean, she said.
Yeah.
I could be mean if I need to.
He's not even close.
And Lisa is Maggie, only she's not a drunken whore.
Yep.
And the boys, yeah, they're both Rooster and Colt, and they interchange. I thought that was funny.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. All right, I think we probably beat this thing to death. I know these are a couple long episodes for this review, but you know what? This is kind of what we're doing, is trying to educate people on our perspective of where we're at. It doesn't mean that we're right. We probably are, but so
I'll tell you, we're probably the most accurate to be able to review the Yellowstone though, because not necessarily the size of the ranch, but the location. And I can tell you what's accurate and what's not. It's supposed to be in Montana. Again, there's no actual reservation near the Yellowstone area that it would normally be, which is Paradise Valley. Quite to the extent that they make it portrayed.
It's not a fence line dividing them.
No, there's a lot of accuracies in the way that they love the land, the way they love the lifestyle, the way they actually go about doing things and taking care of the animals and I guess cowboying and ranching. Not accurate. The overall storyline, again, I thought it was a great storyline. I love the story. It's up there with House of Cards. I really enjoyed that storyline. it's just the fact that there's so many, I mean, gross injustice, inaccuracies about some of the ways in which we live and stuff like that. That's what brought it down. But overall, I'd say I would probably give it a 4 out of 5 stars. But the only reason it's not up there to 4.5 or a 5 stars is because they didn't take the time to get some of those things like, oh, it's a breech calf when you're 100 yards away, and it's like a 3-month-old calf when it clearly was supposed to be born 3 seconds ago. But hey, whatever.
They can't get up on its own for another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
But no,
well,
the fact that they love the land and they'll fight for it till the end, that is 100% accurate.
That's yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that at all. So, well, I mean, that puts this kind of to an end. And thanks for coming along. And again, we thank you till you're better paid.